Hello, I'm Leo Brown. This is the What If It Is True podcast, looking at our gospel reading and finding that virtue, trying to live that, make it look like something, make it apparent in our lives that we believe what we believe. And I think that in this passage, especially, that's reflected in this last verse, having life in his name. Divine Mercy Sunday, of course, a big day with canonizations of Pope John Paul II and Pope John the 23rd. Now saints in the Catholic calendar. That's a beautiful thing. John 20, 19 through 31, and this is where we get the understanding of the Sacrament of Reconciliation, right? Because this is where Christ clearly says, hey, if you forgive sins, they're forgiven. If you retain them, they're retained. And as Catholics, we understand that there's a special office of the priesthood that is ordained to them through the unbroken lineage of laying on of hands that goes all the way back to this experience here in the upper room with the disciples there, so and the apostles being sent forth. We understand that history and that lineage and that connection to Christ through the sacraments, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. They have that power. We, as laity, don't. We can forgive someone, yes, but you know what? We can't retain someone's sins. We can't just discern that perhaps they're not being fully contrite and say, well, I'm not going to forgive you. That's not our job. That could be the job of a priest, should he find it so necessary in the particular situation, right? So that's just one thing. But the big thing is in this and all this, well, the other bit is we see Thomas, if I've talked about in another podcast, the demanding one, wanting to touch Christ, and that's beautiful. And believing because he touched him. But then at the very end, talking about all of these things that Christ did and revealing himself and revealing himself in so many ways, and how that's all for us so that we may have life in his name, right? And I think that that's what this is all about, right? That's why we do this podcast. That's why we have the radio stations that we have. That's why we do anything on YouTube or anything in the blogosphere. It is because we have life in Christ's name. We want to share that, right? We want to do everything that we do for and through Christ, right? And ideally, it's going to be more for others than for us and even him. But at the same time, it's because of that. That's what gives us our mission. That's what gives us our passion. That's what gives us our heart. It's all about that. And that's what Christ wants us to have, right? He wants us to have life in his name. And how beautiful is that? Once we're living in that world, everything is different, right? Everything is different. It's not about us. It's not about our selfishness. It's not about our desires, our appetites and inclinations. It's about what do we do? How do we best serve Christ and others through our sacrifice, through our sharing, and through our serving, right? That's what it's about. Beautiful, beautiful way to live, a beautiful way to exist. That could be yours through the gift of grace and through embracing that gift of grace and living a life of virtue. To find out more about What If It Is True, visit us online at realliferadio.com. We stream 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and also at the radio stations in the greater Lexington, Kentucky area, 94.9 FM, 1380 AM, and then, of course, the companion blog at whatifitisTrue.reallife.blogspot.com. I'm Leo Brown. This is the What If It Is True podcast. God bless.